If you haven't heard the term pay to play when it comes to publishing, then maybe you're one of the lucky ones who haven't come across it, or you just didn't know what you were looking at. Pay to play is when you're asked to pay for the privilege of being considered to be published. That's all, the consideration, no guarantees. And while this is common in a few aspects of publishing, when it comes to genre fiction, which is where this podcast is focused on, it is not an acceptable practice in any way, shape, or form. Now, you may wonder why the hell I'm bringing this up as a hot topic or rant topic instead of making it its own episode. And maybe I might revisit this topic one day, but the reason it is coming up now is because I was fucking furious to come across something that a publisher I know and have dealt with in the past has suddenly started to do. Now, a little bit of background information. This publisher does a lot of anthologies that do not pay. And what makes books very different from magazines in that a lot of the times they don't pay in the same way magazines do. Magazines pay you per word or one set fee. Most book publishers, if it's an anthology, they pay you what's called pro rata, which means you get a percentage of your word count out of the sales. So if you wrote 10% of the book, you get 10% out of the sales. Makes sense, pretty straightforward. But they also deal with a lot of really short fiction, and that is often something that doesn't pay no matter where you look, which understandable. That was never an issue for me, as it may be for some people. What was an issue was this publisher, who does a lot of anthologies where they don't pay authors, started a Patreon. Also, Patreon's not a problem. Normally they're targeted at your customer, your readers, and they offer value-added items. This publisher targeted their Patreon at their authors, which included paying for a level that allowed you early submissions process. Now, you still got to submit if you weren't a Patreon. So, technically not pay to play. But why is this a problem? Well, number one, as I said, any form, you ask people in the genre fiction who have been around for a while, they will tell you paying in any form for the right to submit at any time is not a good practice. It is not strictly unethical, but it is something that those who have been around are going to feel really queasy about seeing. And of course, it makes it doubly worse that a lot of these anthologies you aren't even getting paid for, even if you get to submit early. There's no guarantee that you're going to get accepted. No. But on top of that, you're not even going to get paid if you get accepted to these anthologies. And sure, they do have some pay ones, but you first have to do those unpaid ones before they'll ever even consider you for any of the paid anthologies. So right there, those two things together really got my hackles up. And, well, they try to approach it as, hey, this is a great way for a publisher that's really tiny and small and struggling to try and make ends meet. And sure, when you put it that way, it sounds like a great idea. But why isn't it? Because the authors are not your fucking customers. The author should never be the targeted marketing customer of any publisher. And if the publisher is looking at their authors as their financial base, not as a symbiotic relationship where we work together, we both try and advertise this work, and we both make money off of it, which, of course, since most of their anthologies don't pay, doesn't even count in this case because the author only gets credit. You get exposure. Yay. Sorry. Anyway, you've gone from a symbiotic relationship to something where it's more parasitic. They are looking at their clients as their customers, which means their entire idea of marketing is focused inward, not outward, not on getting new readers, not on getting any readers. They're focusing their author base as the same as their reader base. And that's the secondary huge issue here is that they no longer look at authors as somebody they're working with. They look at them as their pocketbook, and they are treating them that way. So not only is this a disgusting practice, it also shows a huge lapse in marketing judgment from a company. Well, many authors with this particular company, were happy to buy it hook, line, and sinker. And truly, I had great experiences working with them. I just cannot stand by, someone that normally deals with a lot of new authors and inexperienced authors do this. I can't stand by and just watch them do this. And unfortunately, as much as I love dealing with them, as much as I would have loved to keep dealing with them in the future on paid projects, because I am long past the point where I just want to work for exposure, and that's okay with me. It's not anymore. It just feels wrong. And that's all I have to say. It feels wrong and exploitive. And that's why. I mean, you don't have to agree with me. Honestly, you never have to agree with me at any point during this podcast. But I want you to understand that if you see this, if you come across companies asking you to pay, even if it's just for an earlier submissions window, because they're a great company and they're a family and they love and support their authors and want to be around for a while, so please give us your money even though we're not even paying you for your stories. If that's fine by you, then do it. But to be honest, it's not fine by me. And I don't like the fact that this is something that will more likely take advantage of less experienced authors.